I'm Jim Savage. I'm the founder of Greenbuilt. We are trying to bring hemp lime building materials into the Northeast United States, make it into something that people will use as an alternative to existing building materials because it's non-toxic, because it's carbon sequestering, and because they're just really in a lot of ways better.
I've told Jim that I would help him build the tiny house, the hemp tiny house. I think that process is still in the works, and we'll see how that comes out. But I'd be very excited to experiment more with building with hemp. I think it's a really intriguing material.
We're working on a project called Hemp Home Tiny Plus, and what that is we're building an architect designed by Christina Griffin, who is an award-winning architect. Built to passive house standards. It's not just a tiny house, it's a tiny house that's modular, that can be expanded upon. And so that means for a growing family, you can start with a very small place, and if you're an individual, maybe you don't need more than 300 square feet. Christina's design is just a gorgeous design.
Passive house means that you are designing the building so that your heating system is really passive. You really only need an active heating system. When on during very extreme weather, you might have to have the heating system turn on, but for most of the time, you don't need an active heating system. And we do that by super insulating, air sealing the building, and then having a ventilation system to bring fresh air in and return air out on a regular basis. And it's a proven system. I think it's like now 40,000 buildings in the world that's met the passive house standard. And there are cities in Germany, I think Frankfurt, that requires it meet the standard. So, I'm hoping that I can use my knowledge of this standard to work on the hemp tiny house and see if we can meet it. It's a little more challenging when you have a small building because there's more surface area to the building. But I plan to use the energy modeling that I have to see if we can do that.
Maybe then you become a couple and you want to add a bedroom. You can add a bedroom. You have a kid, you can add another bedroom. It's really something that's made for growing families and for people in all parts of the country, and it will be designed to be passive house standards, which is extremely energy efficient, extremely airtight, and extremely comfortable. And I don't know, it's going to be beautiful also.
Generally, when you meet the passive house standard, you're reducing your use of energy for heating to about 10%.
Yeah, so those two should fit the outside and go past, and then these two should fit the inside and be more than enough for the inside. If we need to make other ones, we can do that too.
So basically what happened here was that Tim sent these drawings and Nick
hopefully built them right, but we'll see.
he built them. If they're not right, then
No, it looks great. It looks great. Hey everybody, welcome back. This was deliberately sort of made up to be pretty easy to deal with. So this is supposed to illustrate some of kind of the basic techniques, but as I said, and I can't say that's enough, the forming, planning ahead for your forming in a design and anticipating, conflicts, and the simpler you have it, the easier the whole thing is going to go in terms of doing the form work. Hopefully, once the panelized system is completed and is in the process of being perfected, a lot of those issues are going to be dealt with. But I still really think this is a really viable approach. So. And wherever you are in your process, but you can, once this is dried, and you can put the window in the opening.
And the frame of the window, let's say, is about this wide. Okay, so I guess the frame of the window above can support the hemp above, only above the window, but what about this section and this section? What keeps that hemp from collapsing?
It doesn't.
We're looking at making this as a prototype that we're going to be using in situ construction techniques, but at the same time, we are developing a panelized process where we will be able to accelerate the building process and allow us to replicate it. Yes, we want to replicate it. We want to replicate it with variations so that people can not live in the same box. So people can live in
Right.
different types of houses depending on what their needs are. We want to build versions of it that can become multiple stories. We want to build versions of it that if you have land, you can expand across your land. And we want to build versions of it that can be completely off the grid.
Yep.
That's going to take time, but this prototype is really the beginning of the whole thing and shows that it can be done, that you can make a really energy efficient, really healthy house out of hemp lime and do it in a way that is efficient, replicable, and we've got a great crew working on it, a great design team. In addition to Christina, Tim Callahan is part of our design team. He's consulting on it. Ken Levinson, who's the head of New York Passive House, is consulting on it. And our building crew, this is actually the site that we're going to be building it. Our building crew, led by Nick Zakos and Casson Kennedy, are very committed to building healthy structures built out of natural materials.